Ladies and gentlemen, the boys are back. This is Weighing In, brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. Recording at the beginning of June. Awesome month of wrestling coming up. Mark, GT, what's going on, boys?
Just loving life, brother. Had a great Memorial Day weekend, so got a chance to get back to work here this week. Boo.
You on the road all weekend, Grant?
No, I will not be going to the U23 and U20 championships or trials championships in Geneva. I'm going to be back here getting in preparation for Final X next week, and all the True Third matches going on in New Jersey.
Okay. Yeah, quick USA Wrestling calendar. It's U20s and 23s this weekend, Final X next weekend. And I think cadet duels are the same weekend. And the junior duels are the weekend after that. So it's kind of nuts. Before I forget, congratulations. I didn't even put this on the agenda, but congratulations to all the people going into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame national chapter this weekend. Papa Ron and Mom are on their way down there. Spoke to some of the Stillwater folks yesterday. An outstanding class as usual. I think probably the guy, GT, that you and I talked to the most in that class is Rich Bender. And so, you know, it's awesome to see him and Gary Abbott going in the last couple of years. A bunch of other absolute studs in our sport are going in. So congratulations to all of them. I'm sure Leroy Smith and that crew will do an outstanding job giving those people the credit they're due. I've been at that induction when it was normal, and I've been in that induction during COVID. And so it's nice that it's going to be back to normal again. So congratulations to those folks. Let's talk portal. So the first thing I wanted to read, like I had people texting me like, well, there's people that are transferring after the portal's closed. The portal is technically open from March 9 to May 7, but people are, declaring themselves that they're going to go in at all times. And then there's two exceptions. One, Mark, you had talked to me right before we went on the air. There are exceptions for Division I student athletes who will be transferring as a postgraduate student and those who are transferring as a non-scholarship athlete. So the postgraduate thing is huge. That is pretty apparent. The non-scholarship thing is huge because if you go and you get NIL money, you're not on scholarship. So that's the loophole. And you can drive an NIL truck through that loophole. So that's the other thing. And then here's the other one, which will tie directly into what's going on. There's also a 30-day transfer window available for D1 athletes immediately following their coach being fired or leaving to take another job. So that plays directly into what's going on. GT and I were texting about this. Grant, I think I told you this like the day after Kish was hired. I'm like, everything I'm hearing is that Caliendo and Franek and as many of those guys as he can get are coming with him. And I think, I'm not going to say we collectively because I don't want to speak for you guys or the public, but I think people may be looking at this the wrong way. Like, oh, coach goes here. Now he tries to talk the guys into coming. I think this stuff's all negotiated on the front end. Like, hey, if I leave and I can get you this amount of money, will you come? Because some of those guys may not be on full rides at North Dakota State. I doubt they got a truckload of NIL money over there. So they're probably doing it the normal way where there's 30 kids and they're trying to spread out 9.9 over that many people. But Franek is in the portal. Caliendo is in the portal. Kurt McHenry left to go to Penn State. Mitch Moore went to Rutgers. Joey Cruz went to Iowa. Anthony Ferrari or Angelo Ferrari committed to Iowa last night. Will Feldkamp committed to Iowa State. Let's start first, Mark, with the North Dakota State guys. So those two guys are there, plus Owen Pence and another guy are in the portal. Do you think they all end up at OU? And if not, where do you think they go?
Oh, well, that's a hard question, David. I did not know that. I guess with the coaching changes, I wasn't sure how many of them were going to stay. I wasn't involved in some of these conversations that you and Grant were probably talking about. So I could see them going to Oklahoma. I know they got a real relationship with Coach Kish. So I guess I know there's a lot of schools that would like to have a couple of those guys, and they could make a huge difference to their programs, especially if you're talking chasing a team trophy. And I'm sure Iowa would be one of those teams you're thinking of at 57. Would love to have, somebody that caliber who just plays fourth in the nation. So, but I don't know all the scenarios. I don't know what these teams still have money for NIL, scholarship money. I mean, I have no idea. So I guess it would be a wait and see. It's fun to see things happening, though.
Yeah, never worry about what we're going to talk about on weighing in. Subjects always pop up. So GT, I think, I don't want to say, because I could be wrong. I think I was just more fervent about this than you were when this first happened. So I'll expand the question to you. Do you think that's where they go? And then I'll even add another part that Mark can jump in on too, because you guys both live in Iowa. How much better did Iowa get this week with the commitment of Joey Cruz, in case Ayala is not ready to go, and the commitment of Angelo Ferrari, the number one pound-for-pound guy in the class of 24?
To the first part of the NDSU transfers, with both Caliendo and Franek, I would say probably the logical thing would be for them to follow their coach if they have a great relationship there. Once again, we don't know if Obi was the point of contact or if they have a great relationship with Obi. Them leaving, I think in today's market value scenario, I think that there's some money to be made for those athletes that were previous All-Americans, especially for Caliendo at a very, very, very deep weight at 165, which touted almost, I think, 6 national champions or 6 national titles within that group there. So very interested to find out where both of those athletes will wind up. Staying in the Big 12 does make some sense for both of them. I think in, let's say, the top candidacy of where people could get plugged in and play at, I mean, yes, Iowa could potentially need a 57-pounder. I don't think that they need a 65-pounder with Kennedy, Patrick Kennedy there already. So I don't know if, that would be in the case. I told Dave offline that if Penn State gets another athlete, I'm not watching wrestling anymore.
You can say that. I was not going to put that on blast, but it was super funny.
Yeah. I was like, Kale, just quit, man. Quit. Then, of course, they got Kurt McHenry. So as far as that is concerned, I think that is I think that they probably will wind up at Oklahoma. I think that would be a great move for both of them. And once again, staying with your coach would be a logical destination.
So let me chime in on that, and then we'll go to the other parts. So the story we'd originally heard was that Kish was told he had to keep that coaching staff at OU, and obviously not true. Hayes is gone. Heflin's gone. I've been told from very reliable sources that Ware is staying, but Kish has brought in Cam Sikora and Marsden. So basically it's NDSU South now plus Tion minus Obi. And so if those guys, I want to put this, I think, in the right light. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. For them to stay, their relationship with Obi would have to be greater than those other 3 coaches combined. Because the 4 guys are in the room every day, 3 of them left. And Obi hasn't filled out his whole staff yet, which, he shouldn't rush that. He should get the guys he wants. I think he tried to get Hidley, especially to, fit in where those guys were. Okay, well, we brought in a really good dude. He's around this size. He's young. He can wrestle every day with you. But, you GT's coach, and Mark, you coach for a lot of years. I coach for a lot of years. Loyalty is a big thing. Hey, I want Grant Turner in my corner. That's my guy. Grandview's got a great staff, but he's the guy that I trust in my corner. And, I'm sure that's probably true at Grandview. There's certain guys that prefer certain coaches in their corner, and there's nothing against anybody else. It's just a comfort level. I'm the most comfortable with this person. So I think it's likely. I think the only way is if they get outbid, because now they have to go in the portal and go in the market, but they can always do like a Jay Nyerman and be in the portal for a day or two and then miraculously pop out. I think that's the other thing that people are looking at this. Like, well, they're going to go through the process. Like, they're not going through the process. Most of these kids already know where they're going to begin with. So I'll go first on this Iowa thing. I thought it was the most anticlimactic press conference ever that Angelo Ferrari committed to Iowa. I'm super happy for him. People have asked me a lot about him and that family because I'm friends with AJ. I'm friends with the dad. And Angelo wrestled in Border Brawl as a freshman. And I've told both of you guys this off air, but I'll say this on air. Could not have been more of a yes, sir, no, sir. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the gear. Thank you for the opportunity kind of young man. And turned in his information for the program faster than the other 4 kids that he came down with. So he may have changed, but when I dealt with him, the complete opposite of a prima donna, the complete opposite of a high maintenance young man. And that you remember that, just like if a kid's a pain in the butt, you remember that too. So we both recruited both kinds of kids and coached both kinds of kids. So, but that family's really close. And I don't think there was much of a chance that he was going to go anywhere where Anthony wasn't and where AJ isn't going to go. It certainly remains to be seen. Like, Anthony's not in Iowa yet. It's a credit situation is what we're told. And, obviously AJ's got to get through his legal situation, but I think they wanted to go somewhere where at least theoretically it could work out. I think the Joey Cruz thing is low key really important for Iowa. And Mark, you can go first on this. Like, people that are tied to that program that have talked about Ayala. He may not be ready to go this year. I think it's like I read somewhere it's his 3rd labrum surgery, which is frankly tragic for a kid that good, that young, that committed to have that much work done already. But they don't have anybody else in the room at 125, basically, that's really Division I quality. And Joey Cruz was a huge recruit coming out of high school. I mean, if you are a Hawkeye fan, it's got to make you feel a little bit better about that weight class, right?
Well, yeah, I think depth is what it's all about. So I think Cruz is going to fit in there. Whether, Drake's going to be ready to go this year, I do not know. I've talked to some coaches. I talked to, people that are very close to Drake, not in college, but through his high school careers and stuff. And so hopefully he'll be ready to go. But I don't think you'll see him on the mat until probably November or December. Is what I'm hearing. So, kids at that age can recoup a lot quicker than people at our age, obviously. I pull a hamstring and I'm down for a month. So, it's just the way it is. So I'm hoping that
you got pulled into that our age conversation.
Yeah, well, Grant's getting up there. So until he opens that sweatshirt again, then I can say what I want. So anyway, I hope, Drake's a quality human being. He's one of the nicest kids you'll ever meet. People respect him. He's very serious about what he does. He works really hard. I wouldn't wish nothing but the best for Drake. So, but Cruz, having him in there as somebody that could wrestle this year if they needed him is a huge get for Iowa. It really is. So.
And he's national qualifier at the least good. He's that good coming out of high school, and then it's a development issue. Yep. So, GT, to go to your alma mater, Will Feldkamp to ISU, low-key, really sneaky good pickup. I talked to Mark about this. I was driving around Saturday, and he took 7th last year at Clarion, but he also had a ton of pins during the regular season, like 16 pins, and scored 10.5 points at the national tournament. So 6.5 on placement, 4 on bonus, and fits completely perfectly into that lineup with Coleman leaving. That lineup's pretty salty right now with Terakina, Adasayev / Redding, Redding / Swiderski / Pinheiro, then you got Chittum, then you got Carr, then you got Guyton, now you got him. I think they have a little bit of a hole at 97 and then younger at heavyweight. That's a dang good dual meet lineup. And then we're talking about Iowa, that Iowa State duel gets really interesting with the addition of Feldkamp, because on paper he has to be a favorite over Assad, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I think when it comes to that pickup for the Cyclones, it's whenever you get to add an All-American to your roster, it's a good benefit to everyone around that weight class too. So it's a big level jump for some athletes, and whoever it is that Iowa State would then have at 97 will get a lot better with having Feldkamp in the room with them every day. Also having Younger be a kind of a smaller heavyweight would be able to still wrestle with the 197 pounders as well. I do want to reference the 125 thing to Iowa. They do have Jesse Ibarra, who did very
you're right.
Serviceable, time for the Hawks when in between Spencer Lee and Ayala and all that other stuff. So it's a really big pickup. Don't get me wrong. I think Cruz is probably a better option than Ibarra for the upcoming season if Drake isn't able to go. But hopefully, once again, you add some more depth and both those guys get better, and it becomes a great situation for the Hawks at 125. So Feldkamp, I think, sneaky good, very good pickup. Feel bad for the Clarion program, losing, somebody that was, kind of an All-American for them and then has chosen to move on. But I think that is also kind of the nature of collegiate athletics right now. Congrats for Iowa State picking up a really, really talented athlete.
Yeah, and Iowa State's got several guys now that have All-Americaned on that team, along with Mark's pick to win the 157-pound national title. Are you still picking him to win it now that he's wearing red and gold?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I picked it when he went to Iowa State.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the comment, that he's going to be the national champion for the Cyclones.
Okay.
No, I'm gonna be real honest with you, David. That could change a little bit if Franek gets lost going to Oklahoma and ends up in Iowa City. Then I'm gonna maybe have to switch that just a little bit. But right
Switch
now,
a little bit.
but yeah, not much. It'd still stay within the state. So
Okay.
but I do. I think the world of Chittum. I think he's going to be a phenomenal add-on for Iowa State. If I would have picked Chittum to win nationals, if he was going to start at Iowa this year, David, you would have told me I was a homer and a crazy old man sitting in my basement. So, but he's at Iowa State.
Not the second part. Not the second part. You're not a crazy old man in the basement. You are a homer.
I called him to win it for Iowa State, so I don't think that's being a homer.
No, that's not homer. So a couple other portal news. Mitch Moore goes to Rutgers. It's from Oklahoma, multiple-time qualifier. And then the other one is Kurt McHenry. So, GT, correct me if I'm wrong, 2-time cadet world champion? At least once cadet world champion. Huge resume coming out of high school and kind of got lost. I think he was a little small coming out, but really long for the weight. And again, we don't know if it's where he recruited himself there. Obviously with DiAugustino and those guys coming in, not necessarily a spot for him. No one really knows the health of Robbie Howard, but he feels a lot like the Joey Cruz situation, right? Like really amazingly, an amazing guy to have as a depth guy, right? Like if Joey Cruz and Kurt McHenry are your depth guys, you're doing pretty good in life, right?
Yeah. Yep. You're doing all right. And he was a two-time cadet world champion.
Yeah. Super skilled, super good, especially in freestyle positions, laces and head pinches and things like that. I want to touch on something, GT, just make sure I got this right. We're recruiting this on June 1, and this event has already started. There's a ranking event, a UWW ranking event going on right now in Kyrgyzstan, correct?
Yep.
And probably none of our top people, men's, women's, Greco, are going because of Final X, correct?
I did not see anybody on the entry list for the U.S. at that event.
So to explain what that means is this is a point system, and the more points you get, the higher your seed is at the World Championships, and they're seeding out further and further each year now, which is good. But so, like, I mean, obviously on the men's or women's freestyle team, definitely we have returning world medalists and champions. They'll get 0 points for this tournament, which could lead them to be seated below somebody that the only time they've ever wrestled them, they've beaten them. So if people get confused by that, like if I go to every tournament and end up with 5 more points than you, Grant, but you're 3-0 against me, that has nothing to do with it. It's all just based on accumulating points, correct?
It is, yeah. So it's the best way to describe it would be like PGA golf tour events. So the more that you play in, the more points you accrue, but championships are very much weighted. So you get a lot more points for world medals that then transfer over to that next calendar year. Now, if you just sit back and you don't compete, I think the lowest that you can do as a world champion is be the number 2 seed the next year at World Championships.
Okay.
But the goal, and once again, these are all points that are accrued at a specific weight. So for instance, if Jaden Cox wrestles 92 all year and then goes to 97, he has 0 points at 97. Therefore, he gets 0 benefit of any of those points at 92 kilos. So it's the goal of like, hey, you're the best 61 kilo guy in the world. And then all of a sudden for the Olympics, you go 57 or 65. It means nothing. You haven't accrued any points at that specific weight, even though we know like, hey, you're a world champ. You probably should get maybe like a 4 seed based off of maybe like talent and beating other guys. It's not how the system is set up. You have to compete at that weight and accrue points at that weight in order to have separation.
And that's particularly relevant this year because there's athletes that are going at the 4 non-Olympic weights in each of the 3 styles that will accumulate points that will not count towards their Olympic placement in the tournament because their weight won't exist. And I will say this, I'm not saying Andy Roviat was the one that said this to me the year I did the play-by-play for the Worlds. He said most of the world looks at the non-Olympic weights as a massive downgrade from the Olympic weights. He said, America doesn't really look at it that way. Like, when you're getting the living the dream money, there's not a different dollar amount for Olympic versus non-Olympic weights. It's the same across the board. But our athletes that are going at the non-Olympic weights will probably be wrestling less number 1s from each country because the way to the World Championships this year, and people will text me off air and be like, "Man, you go way too far ahead." Well, we're here now. Okay, the World Championships this fall, the top 5 athletes, men or women, qualified their country for the Olympic Games. So if you're going at a non-Olympic weight and you win a non-Olympic weight, it doesn't matter because that doesn't qualify you for anything. So these countries are going to put their number 1s at the Olympic weights. Is that a fair statement, Grant?
And yes. And once again, I feel like in the USA wrestling world, like we treat a world champion as a world champion. Logan Stever, Jaden Cox, Kyle Dake, Jordan Burroughs, the guys that have won. Once again, I'm forgetting a lot of people. I'm just using this as examples. I mean, those guys are world champions. It doesn't matter if it was at an Olympic or non-Olympic weight. In other countries, funding is given to you based off of Olympic development. So meaning it's heavily weighted for people at Olympic weight classes in order to do well for the government to continue to subsidize money in order to fund their federations. It's more of a governmental payment structure. So it's like, well, hey, if we're winning every non-Olympic world medal, they're not really getting any funding. Or it's a fraction of that funding. So you really have to do well at the Olympic weight classes because that's the goal of the Olympic Development Program in the country of Canada or Switzerland or whoever it is.
Yeah, I mean, just to give a very simple example, just to maybe clarify, in country X, you'd get more money for placing third or fifth at 57 kilos than for placing first or second at 61 kilos on the men's side. Is that like a fair example of what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're getting to this like next weekend's Final X, and we'll do our picks next week for sure. I think we're going to try to spend most of the rest of today talking about U20s and U23s, but definitely something to keep an eye out for. So, all right, let's talk about U20s. So I'm going to see if I can do a share screen here, and then we'll talk about it for the people that are just listening. Okay, so U20s, the way this works, this tournament was held at Vegas. So the winner of that tournament sits. And this is like the old sit where like Mark won the tournament, Grant and I got to wrestle all day, and then whoever wins it got to go 2 out of 3 against Grant, like the second day of the tournament. So for U23s, the tournament wasn't wrestled, and they're just going to wrestle to the finals, and then the finals are 2 out of 3. So I clarified that, so I'm 99% sure I'm right about this. So if we go through this, I'll read off the names here for people that aren't watching. So Luke Lillidow sitting at 57 kilos. I just put up the men's freestyle, men's or U20 freestyle. So Holman, Spratley, Volk, Nasdio, Meza, Rivera, Baker, Macron, Davis, Corrigan, Ancietti, Mendez. Lillidow beat Volk in the finals. I'll just ask you guys this. Like, we can do just quick picks. I'd pick Lillidow to win it, and I think the two guys in the other final to get to him will be Spratley and Volk. Mark?
Yeah, that looks good. I would agree with that.
GT?
Yeah, I have no frame of reference for this one. So, yep, sounds
okay.
great.
All right. 61, Nick Buzakis sitting. This is a great weight. Aiden Valencia, Carter Bailey, Cale Hughes, Kyler Larkin, Cale Peterson, who lost in the finals, Yasagiri, who was big for ASU this year, Easton Taylor, my guy Zan Fugit, Andre Gonzalez, Jace Rhodes. So Buzakis sits. I feel like Cale Hughes, Kyler Larkin, I'll pick those two guys in the finals, and the winner gets to Buzakis. And I mean, I'll take Buzakis because he's sitting. GT?
I'll take Aiden Valencia because he's a beast.
I forgot about him. Yeah, you're probably right.
I'm going to take him, and then I'll take Hughes.
Okay. And do you have Valencia winning, like making the finals and beating Buzakis, or making the finals and losing to Buzakis?
I'll take Aiden Valencia to win the whole thing.
Attaboy. I completely whiffed on him, and I was going to say him, and I didn't write it down. So good pick by you, Mark.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Valencia to win the whole tournament. I think he beats Nick also, but I think he's going to beat. I'm gonna go Peterson.
All right.
That's
he
what
was
he
in
needs to get to.
he was in the finals the other tournament.
Yep.
All right. Tyler Kasich is sitting. Hargrove, Brooks, KJ Evans. I'm not going to read all these guys. Gilcher, Pearson Manville, Jesse Mendez, Cannon Webster, Vince Cornella, Ryder Block. To me, the last guys down there, Jesse Mendez, Cannon Webster, who beat him there, Cornella, who's at Cornell, and Ryder Block. I'll take Mendez to come out of the mini tournament over Webster, and I'll take Mendez to win the tournament. GT?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Mark?
I'd probably. I'm gonna give some love to my boy Ryder Block. I hope that he gets to the semifinals. How about that?
There you go. You guys are. I talked to TJ this week, so shout out to Seabolt Wrestling Academy. Mark?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Cannon Webster and Mendez to meet up, and then the winner will get obviously Kasich. But I'm gonna go with Mendez to win it all.
All right. Myers Shapiro is in the finals. Some big names here. Panero Johnson, Jackson Arrington, Jordan Williams, Caleb Larkin, Antrell Taylor, Joel DeSoroga. All right, Mark. Mark, you go first. Shapiro's in the finals. Who gets there to meet him?
I think, and I just heard this on Flow, that Bartlett just entered, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be at 70. So he's not on the list, but I'm going to take Bartlett, Russell and Shapiro, and I'm going to take Shapiro to win it.
Okay, GT.
I'm going to take Panero Johnson to make the finals and Shapiro to win.
Okay, I'll take Jordan Williams to make the finals and Shapiro to win. All right, 74. Mitchell Messenbrink is sitting. Hunter Garvin, Joe Seeley, Aiden Riggins, Braden Scholes are the big names. GT, who you got?
I'll take Hunter Garvin versus Messenbrink.
Are you going Hunter Garvin to win, or?
I'm taking Messenbrink to win the thing, but I'm having Garvin make the finals.
Are Garvin and Riggins in the same club?
Hunter Garvin was a part of the Big Game Wrestling Club, but now he wrestles at Stanford, and then Aiden wrestles at Iowa.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they're not. He's out in California. Okay. All right. So you got Messenbrink over Garvin. Mark?
I'm going to go Seeley over Riggins to make the finals, and then I'm going to take Messenbrink to beat Seeley.
All right. I'll take Seeley over Garvin and then Messenbrink over Seeley. All right. 79. Pretty big weight here and some interesting guys. So MJ Guyton, Singleton, AJ Haig is down a lot of weight. Rocco Welsh, Josh Barr, Tate Piccolo, and Gabe Arnold has done himself a lot of favors by getting through and being at the end here. Mark, who you got? I mean, this could go a bunch of different ways.
It could. Boy. I'm going to go with Welch against Arnold in the finals, and I'm going to take Arnold to win it.
Who does Welsh wrestle in the finals? Or I don't know the seeds, but who you think's like the top two guys there?
I think Barr's going to be up there, and then probably Gayton.
Okay. All right. GT?
Yeah, I think Rocco Welsh versus Matthew Singleton in the finals of the mini tournament, and then I'll have Gabe Arnold making the team.
I can't go against Gabe Arnold. That's my guy. I'm going to take Josh Barr to make the finals against him, and him over Welsh in the finals of the, I guess, mini tournament, whatever you're going to call it. Smaller weight here in terms of numbers. Bennett Bergey's waiting for somebody to come out. I think the big names are McNeely, Braden Thompson, Rylan Rogers, Clayton Whiting, sneaky good. He's been at Mizzou this year. Tate Noctaboran. I'll take Braden Thompson over Whiting in the finals, and I'll take Braden Thompson to win it. GT?
Take Knackenborn versus McNeely, and then I'll have Bergey beating McNeely.
Minnesota on Minnesota crime. All right.
Love that.
Mark?
I kind of agree with you, David. I think Braden Thompson might come out on top in the this bracket and Russell Bergey, but I don't think he can beat Bergey. I think Bergey's too experienced, so I got to take Bergey to win it.
All right. 92 kilos, full disclosure. I've sat in Jack Darrah's corner, so I'm picking him to win it. He's waiting on either Mirasola, Volker, Gavin Nelson, Stephen Little, who was in the finals against him. Max Stout's a big name here. I will recuse myself from this weight class. Mark, who you got making the finals, and then does Darrah win or not?
I'm going to take Volker in the finals against Darrah, and I'm going to take Darrah to win it.
Who does Volker beat in the mini tournament finals?
That's a good question. I'm going to say Stout.
Okay. GT?
I'll take Wyatt Volker versus Gavin Nelson in the finals of the mini tournament. Volker winning it, and then Volker winning the 92 kilo. He'll take out Dara.
All right. Probably the smallest bracket here. Camden McDaniel's waiting. Shunky, Bartelt, excuse me, Kozinski, Ramberg, Harrison. I don't really know. I'll take Kozinski to come out, and I got McDaniel beating him. What GT? Who you got?
I'll take McDaniel to win the spot, but in the mini tournament, I'll take Kozinski and
Ramberg. That's your guy, right? Viking RTC.
No, different one.
Okay. All right, Marco.
I'm gonna take Shunky to be in the finals, and I'll take McDaniel to win it.
All right, heavyweight. So there's some big names here. Christian Carroll sitting, Chase Horn, big recruit, Aiden Matau. He's trying to make the Greco team too. Navarro Shunky, big recruit. Harley Andros, who's over at Nebraska. Coy Hopke, huge recruit. GT, go ahead and go here. And Bradley Hill, who's with Iowa. So, GT, who you got?
I'm going to take Hopke versus Hill for the mini tournament final, and then I'll have Christian Carroll winning the whole thing.
Mark?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to have Hill in the finals, though, Grant. I'm going to switch on you. I agree with your other choices, and I'll take Carroll to win it all.
I'll take Carroll beating Hopke in the finals and Hopke beating Chase Horn in the mini tournament. So we'll collectively see who is right or wrong there. Let me go in here. The U23s are absolutely unbelievable. This tournament is so deep. So like 57 kilos, we're sharing this now, but there's literally this one's not terrible, in terms of depth, but like there's some of these are crazy, but we get to U23s, excuse me. Let me get down here. U23s, the big names that are here, Brett Unger, starting at 57, and Steve O'Poulin are probably the big names. Dean Peterson. I don't know if we want to go through all these guys. There's a lot here. I'll just tell people this. There's a great write-up on Flow. There's a great write-up on USA Wrestling. This tournament's gigantic. I got a chance to coach in this thing a long time ago, Coach Mikey Benefield and Duran Wynn, and Mikey actually won the tournament. And that was back when there was like the clinch in between periods, and Mikey lost the coin toss and won 3 clinches and won one of them in the finals to win the tournament. So shout out to him. This tournament's absolutely loaded, and it's something that definitely as fans you should be keeping an eye out for. There's a ton of guys and women, but guys like that are on college teams now that maybe haven't started or are starting, but are like maybe had a red shirt year and are going to come out and wrestle. And GTNO, you and I follow this probably more than Mark does, but on Twitter, a bunch of these coaches, college coaches, are tweeting about, hey, we're ready for these U20, U23s. I saw Coleman. I saw, OSU, Mizzou, a bunch of these schools are posting about this. So this is a tournament if they're not peaking for it, they're definitely mentioning it. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, and if so, are there any particular matchups you're looking forward to seeing or guys you're looking forward to seeing wrestle?
Well, I think a lot of it is based off of health and who takes it seriously, right? Because there's a couple of guys that aren't necessarily maybe good freestylers that come out and try it. And you're like, well, then that result doesn't compute with them being a very good folk styler or vice versa.
Right.
So once the tournament gets rolling and I kind of see how everything is shaken out a little bit, kind of by the quarters, I have an idea of like younger kids and or like guys that are already pretty talented on how they're kind of wrestling and whatnot. I think some of the things that always stand out is very similar to like Midlands for me. Is like some kid has an amazing tournament and all of a sudden makes finals that you never really heard about or didn't really pay that much attention to. because they're hungry or they just didn't get a chance to really compete or they're just that good at freestyle. So I always come away from this tournament with some new kind of like sleeper picks for the upcoming season, because it does show that a lot of these guys can make jumps throughout that calendar collegiate season.
Well, I want to say this and then turn it over to Mark. I think your point's really well taken. Like, maybe a guy like me is taking it really seriously and you're way better than me and you're not, and I get a win, and I probably would never beat you in folk style in the middle of the season when we're both serious. But that gives me confidence to believe that I belong at that level you're at, even if it's just 1 6-minute match that, you were just going because 6 other guys on the team were going, kind of thing. So, Marco, anything in particular that you're looking out for here?
No, not really. It's just, you're going to see some guys that you didn't expect probably be out here doing this, that you didn't see it. To me, it's kind of like watching Nelson Rans wrestle freestyle this year at seniors. I just haven't seen Nelson wrestle freestyle since he was in high school. So you kind of forget that, they do know how to do it. So it'd be fun to watch. There is a lot of talent. There's a huge number of people in this tournament. So
yeah, we're scrolling through this. I mean, like the 70-kilo weight class alone looks like it's got like 50 guys in it.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's gigantic. And I mean, it's a 2-day tournament. So it's, it does make sense, I guess, the way it's structured, where like the U23 brackets are significantly bigger than the U20 brackets. And the U20 brackets are the one where we have 10 people already sitting. So, like, I couldn't even imagine going like through a 64-man bracket and then on the other end popping out and, okay, now a guy's been waiting fresh, 2 out of 3 while, you went through the ringer for a day and 3 quarters.
Yep.
I mean, this one's going to be a lot more even. There's not a lot of seating criteria for a lot of these guys too, especially in freestyle. So, you could see some interesting matchups. You'll definitely have a couple people make the semis and finals that you weren't expecting, alluding directly to what Grant was saying about that. And, I think it is a chance for maybe some of the smaller schools that are taking guys to this tournament. It helps them with their administration. Like, hey, we had a U23 USA Wrestling All-American. We had a guy make a world team. We have met guys a world alternate, that kind of stuff. And we need these programs to thrive. I mean, like we talked earlier about, how the haves are picking off a lot of the All-Americans from the have-not programs. And unless we want to have like 16 teams in college wrestling, these kind of events are helping to actually promote those teams that may not have as much money. So it's important to look at it from that perspective as well. So next week we'll make Final X picks. We have consciously not talked about the college rule proposals yet. I think it's for 2 reasons. One, everything's been so busy, and it's certainly not a 5-minute subject. I think each of us could spend 10 minutes on it. So we want to try to find a podcast where we can give its due time. And the second thing is they're not approved yet. So if they don't get approved, may not necessarily be worth talking about, although, the concept of them certainly are. Last thing for me is this is one of my favorite weekends of the year. I get to go to the Beat the Street Chicago Gala. I think we all know Mike Powell, one of the really good people in wrestling, was the coach at Oak Park River Forest when like the Coleman brothers and Larry Early and Kamal Bey, they all wrestled for him. And this is their big fundraiser for the year. I'm honored to be a part of that organization, and it's a really exciting event. They do an absolutely unbelievable job with it. And I talked to Mike yesterday. If you are interested in bidding on something or supporting that organization, the website is btschicago.org. That's btschicago.org. And rest assured that your money's not going to administration there. It's actually going to the kids or the people that have committed themselves full-time to coach and mentor these kids. And, Powell's speech last year was really powerful. And they're literally using wrestling to keep kids not only from, I think, making bad choices, but keeping them away from people that would probably force those kids into bad choices. So it's a really cool thing what they're doing. So we'll get a little bit early. I know Grant's got a call at 11, and I got to bug him for 5 minutes before that happens. So anything else before we sign off, boys?
I do have one thing to say. Grandview did get in the transfer portal. I had noticed that. Cam Robinson, 149-pounder from Iowa State, has entered the portal and has committed to Grandview to wrestle next year. Congratulations, Grant.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want you to forget Grandview's. They've got their fingers in a lot of different areas, David. They're working it. They're working it.
I may have gotten a call from the Grandview coaching staff over the last 5 or 6 years about individuals. That might have happened. I can neither confirm nor deny. I saw you guys got the kid out of Clackamas too, right?
Oh yeah, we've been, as all programs are right now. The recruiting is happening a lot. It's a very, very, very big time for recruits as schools are in, like scholastic years are ending. Finals have happened. People are getting out into the camp world and all that kind of stuff. So trust me, once again, on weighing in, we will always have some sort of transfer commitment conversation almost every week. So
yeah,
excited for all of the athletes that are finding new homes. That's a big deal. Not so much the case back in the day. So
yeah. Well, and you guys will wrestle anybody, anytime, anywhere. People forget Grandview wrestled Iowa State last year. And shout out to Kevin Dresser for taking that duel. I mean, that's a duel that a lot of coaches may not take because of how good you guys are. And so to get that exposure and that quality of competition, and then to bring a D1 guy into your room, not that the level in your room needs to get escalated, but will probably get escalated nonetheless. So congratulations to you guys on that. Once more, btschicago.org. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. We'll speak to you all next week.